Welcome back to Spoiler Manager. Oh my god, we're starting with this.
I can't let it.
Alright, time for the Cameo
Oh
Museum.
no!
I'm barely holding the gateway together.
Oh
So
no!
while we had to actually run away from the evil CEO Peter, now you get a room where you basically get a bunch of Easter eggs. For example, the costumes. For example, they've enchanted the costume, like, for example, the stealth suit here, the armored spider suit, for example, from Civil War, the Future Foundation suit. This is the 1602 suit from Peter Parkwag. This is the Iron Spider armor, the classic one, but also in the 90s cartoon. Here a bunch of concept arts that were also tied to Shadow Dimension. This is another stealth suit, if I recall correctly. This is more concept art of how Peter, became the CEO of Alchemax.
Spider-Man on the Waterfront. Is that a reference to the 2000 PS1 game?
Possible.
Explosion, Eastman.
Spider-Man and Oscorp collapses, something that happens in Shadow Dimension. Again, there's this nice bit of continuity now, but it's just, not really worthy when you have such a terrible story to go through.
Oh, look at that, a statue of Mary Jane.
Actually, that's Silver Sable from Shadow Dimension.
Why does he have a statue of Silver Sable?
Not just that, he has it also for the other boss he faced in Shadow Dimension. So Juggernaut, Sandman, and...
Again, why does he have statues of them? Like, I don't
know.
get that.
And if you pull this off, you get, instead, a sneak peek for the final boss as well. The armor that the CEO will use, which will also you will be able to use as an alternate costume.
Oh, right. Now, aside from me pointing out how, this plot revolution should pretty much collapse upon itself. Oh, right.
Also, Mary Jane Memorial, Peter, Ben, and Uncle Ben and Aunt May, and of course the torn-up costume that Spider-Man is wearing currently.
I have to get home and do something.
So, again, how does he become evil if he now knows he becomes evil? Because,
And wants to actively avert it. I don't get it.
Again, quantum causality dictates that this should ruin this all, but no, somehow this Peter will just go on and become evil.
Here's a thought that could easily fix most of the problems with the plot twist. How about it's the Miguel, the one who becomes evil in the future? That way the quantum causality is only a minor effect, and, with Miguel being stuck in another time, he cannot fix it properly right now,
And then you wouldn't have had to, introduce stupid stuff like the anti-aging drug.
Yeah, that too. Which serves just for this and Black Cat, mind you.
And
it doesn't really have any relevance.
And here's another problem with this plot twist. Yes, this plot twist is pretty big, but the story does so little with it in the long run here. Like, believe it or not, after this point, we won't really see CEO Peter Parker until the final boss.
Pretty much. I think we see, a hologram interacting with Miguel, and then basically the final boss.
Like, okay, so you reveal your big villain, not even really explaining that much why he is the big villain, and barely do anything with it. Now, the idea that Spider-Man would be so overcome with grief that he would become the villain, yes, there is technically potential with that idea, but you have to do something with it. Again, may I remind you, up until this point, as far as we know, the main bad guy was... Sloan, yeah. A completely new, original bad guy created for this. And yet, apparently no, it's actually CEO Peter Parker. So, here are the questions. Why is it CEO Peter Parker? Did he order Sloan to do all this? Or did CEO Peter Parker become the villain because of what Sloan did? And if that's the reason...
Did Sloan knew about this and wanted to also kill Peter Parker just so he couldn't become his boss?
Or did he somehow know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man and wanted to turn him evil? So many questions, none of which will be answered.
Because this plot twist is rushed beyond belief. This is probably tied to the fact that the game was basically pulled out of the oven so soon after Shadow Dimensions.
Like, it feels like they had a plot idea, but something just dictated that they have to forget about it until the very end. So we have the game pretty much treating this like a big plot revolution, but for it to actually have been that big a plot revolution, the characters would have had to reflect on it as much, and they don't.
No, instead we just keep on bickering and bickering. Because that's what Spider-Man loves to do the most, being a snarky asshole against everyone.
Including himself. Well, technically a future version
Not himself.
of
If anything, Miguel is the pure representation of not another Peter Parker.
Although, to be fair, if the other Spider-Man had been around, then they would have counted. Again,
Yeah.
why? I mean, okay, so maybe they wanted to make this purely time-based, and I get it, you know. In that case, only Miguel would work.
Honestly, Jova, the Spider-Man Noir, like the only one to exclude should have been Spider-Man Ultimate Spider-Man, because Spider-Man Noir is just from a, I guess, yes, still an alternate, but it could be potentially counted as the past, you know.
My guess is that apparently they wanted to keep his universe a different one since he technically is still Peter Parker, but all the same, they probably could have just said, "Hey, Peter, what a coinkydink! Your ancestor, who was a crime..."
Oh, this action.
Oh.
Alright, time to patch some more the game. Aren't you tired of me saying that? Well, the game is certainly not, because now Black Cat holds the key to get out of his place and you need to fight her 3 times in a row.
Oh, hey, Black.
Who's voicing Black Cat here?
Actually, that is a good question. Let me get to the IMDb page to check, because I didn't mention that. Now, like I mentioned, the fight against Black Cat itself is easy enough. It's just that it's so damn repetitive. You need to go through this shit 3 times, plus her clones. And she has barely any Cartesian side of saying, "Oh, I'm so, I'm so sexy, Peter. Come and get me."
Never mind the fact that I know that you're married at this point, so... I mean...
And there's that. There's also this weird gotcha moment that she had in the previous part, where it seemed like she was like sort of a mind control, and she asked Peter to help her. But when she pulls that out of the way, and she's like, "No, I can't believe you fell for that."
Like, and why is she regressing to this mentality here?
Here,
Like,
I found the voice. Katie Sackhoff.
Hold on, let me check what's her career. Honestly, the voice acting is by far the least of the problems. The only thing that I could mention is the fact that, Val Kilmer had like a moment where he said his line way too fast in one of the previous parts. But then again, he has so little to say in the game anyway.
despite him supposedly being the main threat for most of the game.
So I do wonder, Jova, is Sloan not being a much threat because he was raised by Val Kilmer and we had to, keep the payroll of him to a limited degree, or vice versa? They basically knew that Sloan would have not be a bigger threat, so they did hire a celebrity for the case.
Maybe that's the case. Like, maybe.
There you go.
The
Katie Sackhoff.
How much do you want to bet that originally they planned for Sloan to be the big main bad guy? He was going to be this new villain who would be so awesome that even the comics would want to include him. But then they face planted at pretty much the finish line with him.
Oh, she's Bo-Katan from the Star Wars Expanded Universe.
Huh, neat.
Okay, the expanded universe that
the current one. She started in the Clone Wars. She started appearing in the Clone Wars, but also appeared in an episode of The Mandalorian, for example, and also in 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels.
Oh my God! Quit it, woman! Literally, the first time we met you, you were whining and moaning about how your life was suffering, and now you're just hitting on the guy.
She was in a couple of Call of Duty.
Mind.
She was in a couple of the Call of Duty games, Resistance 2, CSI. Oh, she was in the Oculus movie. Actually, I remember that one.
And I think
But
she was in.
she has a mild, extensive career from the end of the 90s onward.
And I think she was in. She was in the Battlestar Galactica.
Actually, don't remember her, but let me check just to be sure.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Oh, there you go. But yeah, the fight, as you can imagine, this fight goes way too longer than it should.
So, Tio, just curious, do you think there were 2 writers for Black Cat who goes for one, the angst, and one for the
No,
thirst.
I see. There was one writer for this, so it's unfortunately the blame has to be on him in some kind of degree. But yeah, Dave was right. She was Captain Starbuck in Battlestar Galactica.
How neat.
And all of this is accompanied by the same music that you have heard so many times, but tries to be whimsical for some reason. Like, I don't know. I still keep on the point that I said before about, having the composer just doing a bunch of these and then saying to the studio, okay, just place them where you feel like it, instead of what should really happen, or aka the opposite. So basically, instead the team saying, oh, we do need a particular score for this specific piece. Can you do something?
Hey, you know what would have been an interesting twist? If Miles had actually been the villain. Like, we know that Miles likes to look up to Peter, so imagine if a villainistic Miles happened because...
Miles Morales?
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think he was that famous, Joe, that
Oh!
2011.
That reminds me, a bit of a fun fact about him, actually. So, I've actually looked back at the MCU, and I've recently started watching this show called Community. Turns out, a lot of the actors from Community have gotten to guest star in the MCU. Why is this? Because the Russo brothers were heavily involved with Community, the show here and there, to the point where they reference it heavily, and one of the main characters, his girlfriend, is, of course, Captain Marvel.
Brie Larson?
Yeah, I know, weird as that is. Anyway, but the main thing, believe it or not, Community is what inspired Brian Michael Bendis to create Miles Morales. Particularly, it was Donald Glover saying that he would be interested in playing Spider-Man, and at a point where they had a gag where his character showed up in a Spider-Man suit at some point. And that actually inspired Brian Michael Bendis to create Miles Morales, and he based Miles Morales' likeness off of Donald Glover. Which is funny because later on Donald Glover would go on to play Miles Morales' uncle, Aaron Davis, in the MCU.
The Prowler, yeah.
So, in a way, it kind of comes full circle, don't it?
Weird.
And since the Community guest star things started in Phase 2, I will be making sure to point those out when we spot them.
Oh, good.
What is Community supposedly about? Is it like a sitcom?
Basically, Community is about this ragtag bunch of people who are essentially a study group who have to survive the antics of a community college here for varying reasons.
Sorry,
It
Joe,
is
here we
quite
go.
the interesting show.
Yes, and now that it's on Netflix, very good for viewing.
But it was as close as I was ever going to get.
Okay,
Yeah, we
slow
get
down
it.
with the line reading.
Yeah, you were great.
Oh my,
Better than the original.
what? What do you mean better than the original?
Excuse me?
I don't even...
Peter, think of very... Oh my god.
And she vanished? I guess she was the ghost of
we
Christmas.
never
He is
see
the
her.
worst
We
here.
never see her again. Peter, you're a terrible person.
Oh, okay, what do you mean better than the original? She is the original. What is... Are they implying that she's a clone now or
They
something?
never explain Jova. Honestly, I'm pretty sure the plot is just given up at this point.
He says his love life is more important than billions of people, and now he's like essentially flirting with other women. Like, what even the fuck is this
Oh, sure.
iteration?
It's even worse. Black Cat was literally the rival for his affection with Mary Jane, so that
guess
just makes
hanging-
this even worse.
But he's actually with one of them.
Well, I guess hanging around enough with the Avengers, made him study the ways of Hank Pym and Reed Richards at some point.
And Tony Stark before he
Well,
settled
Tony
down.
Stark was Tony Stark ever married? I actually forgot.
Comics-wise, I don't think so.
Like,
He was an absolute bachelor. Though,
Don't think about the MCU, mind you, because we know eventually marries Pepper and everything. But talking about strictly comics, it probably has, because remember, in the TV series, he also has an entire episode dedicated to his wedding.
Yeah, me too.
But for contrast, for example, Reed Richards is a terrible husband. One thing that everyone is wondering what the MCU Fantastic Four will have is the interaction between Richard and Sue Storm, because Sue Storm has been plagued by being very a victim of a lot of abuse from Reed Richards over the decades, and it's a constant tug of war between a writer that wants to, make her more independent, and another that has Reed Richards say, "Shut up, woman! I'm the smart in the house, dag nabbit."
Boy,
and then there's Hank Pym, who's a serial abuser of Janet, his wife, and it gets even creepier the more alternate universe it happens.
I'm pretty sure Disney would never allow Marvel to make a movie with those.
No, that's what they mean. I'm actually curious to see what they're gonna do with that.
Anyway,
Basically, it leaves.
one at a time.
Michael Douglas, casting Michael Douglas as Hank Pym is more hilarious than anything, because even though they didn't show any of the quote-unquote qualities that Hank Pym may have connected to such a role.
It's one of the reasons why people were a bit iffy on the Ant-Man movie at first, because a lot of people are thinking, wait, that means we have to deal with Hank Pym? Oh god. But it turned out to go differently than we thought.
To be fair, Jova, he was like the original Ant-Man and one of the founding members of the Avengers. He needed to be a bit important in some fashion.
Man, I can't imagine they do that though. I mean, who would want to go see a movie? I mean, imagine how that would go in the when people talk about the movie after they've seen it. I saw the new Fantastic Four movie. Oh, what was it like? Well, one of the Fantastic Four, one of the main heroes was an arsehole who kept hitting his wife.
Anyway,
keep in mind, the consistent good thing about the Fantastic Four movies is the fact that Reed is not a dick with Sue. So there's that, I guess. Sorry, go on, Jova.
Anyway, Tio, I'm here to answer your question about Tony Stark getting married in the comics. You're gonna love this.
God.
When it comes to Earth 616, no, he never got married. He did date Pepper Potts, but it never worked out between them. She went on to marry Happy Hogan in the Earth 616 universe.
Oh.
Now, there is a universe where he does get married to the Black Widow. In Earth 1610, gives her own armor and everything. But let's talk about the most interesting one, Earth 3490, where Iron Man gets married with Captain America. There's a bit of a catch, though. Tony's a woman in that version.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And
anyway,
get this, he's actually...
Now, finally, the two Spider-Men have switched back to their respective timelines, so that's the good news. What's the bad news? Now it's time to finally see the reveal that Jova wanted to keep secret all this time. So let's see what the mysterious new villain is. It's
Doc Ock.
Monster.
Yeah, they decided to just call it Atrocity, but there it is. It's the fusion. Also, yeah, Ping Kong Fu is taken. But yeah, keep in mind, both Peter and Miguel still have no idea what the true nature of this beast is, as will take their sweetest time trying to analyze the shit out of it. Go on, Jova.
So it's Monster Rock from the 2000 game.
Yeah, pretty much. Just a bit better.
Now, okay. If they do something like this to pay homage to Spider-Man, the 2000 game, that's fine and all. But...
I forgot about this. Sorry, Jova. There you go. Now it's time for plot contrivance. Now there's a convenient wormhole that will take Miguel. Also, by the way, they did the joke from 4 about the wormhole. There was a convenient wormhole that will take Miguel exactly near the place where he needs to go, and this mechanic will never be brought up again in the rest of the game. It's just there for this one use. Like, the team did not have any idea how to get Miguel fast enough to that place, so they just decided to instant wormhole. There it is.
You think that Miguel would try and hack that device before blowing it up, but whatever.
Well, if it means it gets this game done faster, I'm not going to complain.
But yeah,
almost there.
Again, though, it's like, well, okay, this whole... I'm just going to call it Monstrock until they actually get to officially
We actually called it already, Atrocity.
Yeah, Atrocity. The whole Atrocity thing, again, okay, so you want to pay homage to Monstrock, that's fine, but the characters are so brainless, they don't put 2 and 2 together. Like, you could immediately tell that, at the very least, that, hey, that's Anti-Venom mixed with Doc Ock. Now, granted, there is the bit where they have to figure out that Sloane's in there too, but let's be honest. Wouldn't you have drawn the conclusion that Sloan was in there as well, seeing as how
Not just
Sloan
that,
would have
the
gotten knocked
presence
in?
of Sloan makes no impact to the beast. It literally just has the power of the anti-venom and the cock, and that's it. Sloan being there is just a surplus.
You could say maybe it was Sloan's mind controlling it, but nope, nothing like that. Like,
No, because it still acts like on a bestiality level.
and not only that, but this is wasting time. Like, okay, so we're trying to figure out the identity. Why are we trying to figure out the identity? Shouldn't we try to be figuring out, oh, I don't know, how to defeat the thing first?
And how to actually get instead to the CEO, because keep in mind the rest of this section and most of one of the next part will be dedicated for Miguel and Peter to use their combined intellect to actually guess what this creature is. So here's more tedium for you folks. Now Miguel has to basically reroute DNA DNA carrying carts, so that they can bring DNA to the central battery here, so you can actually analyze what the creature may be since it's stuck in the past. So, in the meantime, Jova, finish off what you were saying.
So you're probably wondering, so what exactly do we need to do to solve the plot? Your guess is as good as mine because, well, the story kind of doesn't have an idea. Like, you'd think, oh, we just have to fix the time portal machine, but no, the actual design is
also
different.
yes, this is also an escort mission, because the cars will be in danger from this mutant who suck up away the energy from it, essentially destroying it. Anyway, Jova, you were saying something about still, the marriage between Cap and Iron Woman.
Yeah, basically, in that version, Tony is named, funnily enough, Natasha Stark.
Oh.
He's literally a fusion of Black Widow and Tony in that one.
Remind me, can you tell me again the name of the reality so I can check what specifically it is? I may know it.
Earth 3490.
Alright.
Basically, in that universe, thanks to their marriage, that universe's civil war gets averted because they're able to talk it out better.
Alright, I remember this. It was just to basically take another stab at Civil War, similar to what Next Wave did.
Oh yeah, basically guys, for a bit of backstory here, before One More Day became pretty much the laughing stock of the Marvel Universe, there was Civil War, which everyone, even the other writers, hated and constantly made jabs at. Like, there was a, what if Civil War didn't happen? And if I recall correctly, it is literally solved by the heroes just talking to each other properly. Hell,
This is yet basically stating, the fact that Mark Millar and the other people behind Civil War had no idea how to properly handle the event.
yeah. It just left us feeling so empty. But speaking of feeling empty, yeah, this escort mission is the absolute pits here.
Like, it starts mildly fine at first, but then it veers off to become very annoying because you get so many of these zombie-like enemies at the same time.
And you're probably wondering, what are these zombie enemies even doing here? And yes, I know that they've been established, but really, plot-wise, what are they even doing here? They don't.
Alchemax is an evil corporation, Jova. Deal with it.
I get that, but there's really no talking about how this, suits Alchemax's goals anyway whatsoever.
Also, by the way, this is the free-falling section music just used here for some reason.
Again,
okay.
again. This music was epic when it was being used for when Spider-Man was dying against anti-venom, but now the game decides to, run it into the ground. And what about this scene is supposed to be so epic that it deserves this music even? We are literally
extreme cart escorting action.
Wow.
That sounds like the worst Metal Gear Solid game ever.
Hey.
No, that's Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a good thing that the game doesn't ask Spider-Man to check his regular water intake.
Well, Pedro, there's been many times over the course of media in general that you think you see the worst thing, but then something far worse comes along. Might take a year or so, it might take 10 years, but...
Always a bigger fish.
Yeah. Like me, for example, I thought X-Men Origins Wolverine would be the worst superhero film I'd seen. Then I saw Fantastic.
What's the one that attains the record now? Fantastic?
Yes,
Alright.
because at least to me, Dark Phoenix was just disappointing.
I
Fantastic was
wouldn't
just
say that.
wretched. Fantastic was just wretched in every conceivable way.
Have you seen stuff like Elektra, Dweebs?
Yes, I have. Electra's just boring.
Okay, fair enough.
Uh,
I actually have to see the extended cut of it. I only saw the normal one and it's been so long.
what was I talking about?
I know the fact that I know is that Jennifer Gardner is not a good actress to me.
Well, at least she tried in that other movie she was in.
9 Lives.
I was going to say the Odd Life of Timothy Green, but
Oh, she was in that too. I forgot about it.
She's the mom. Yeah.
Oh god.
yeah.
She needs a better agent.
So, who do you think has the worst agent, her or Judi Dench this year?
Oh God. Poor. I don't
Where
even
she has
understand
been.
that. Judi Dench was in Cats.
Oh, okay, right.
And the Artemis Fowl movie.
Then the Artemis Fowl movie as well.
Mind
because
you, the Artemis Fowl movie where she replaces a blatant male character and ends up taking away from the struggles of a particular female character.
It's interesting you say that, Jover, because the character she plays in Cats is also traditionally a male character.
Wow.
Judi Dench
Wow.
must be so sad that they killed off her M from Bond because now she has nothing to turn to for a good movie.
Yeah.
Well, she could make a cameo like she did in Spectre.
I think the
I
tagline for
guess.
Judi Dench is, after James Bond, my career took an arrow to the knee. And this is still going.
Yeah, and now for some reason, Alchemax, grunts also join forces with the zombies to take me out.
Grunts
Keep
should
in mind,
be
the
trying-
zombies should be rapid. They should attack the soldier. This is Monster Hunter with actual carnivores to defeat hunters. That is not how it works.
Like, hey, Grunt, shouldn't you be trying to contain the situation? I know that Spider-Man's a danger, but...
And the zombies should be attacking them as well indiscreetly, you know.
Right. In fact, quick question since we mentioned
Go on, Dave.
since you mentioned Judi Dench earlier. For those of you that have seen both films, I've seen.
Me neither.
What's worse, Cats or Artemis Fowl?
Artemis Fowl.
I guess because, well,
Okay.
I guess both of them basically ruin a bit of the source material.
Well, okay,
you know.
here's the thing about Cats, Theo. Cats, from what I understand, isn't really a traditional story, mind you, so...
It's really like a glorified set of presentations.
Yeah, so you could
Yeah,
argue...
and it works fine in the medium that it was made for.
Yeah. You could argue that the movie Cats is technically a faithful, adaptation. It's just that it's really not suited for, a movie sort of format. Whereas Artemis Fowl, people are calling that an even worse adaptation than Last Airbender and Dragon Ball Evolution.
Wow.
And it comes from Kenneth Branagh too. I'm like, what happened? He's normally a very competent director.
Not only
Did he
that,
actually
but...
read the book of which it was based on?
I don't know. Not only that, but it stars Ferdia Shaw, who's apparently Robert Shaw's grandson.
This is the guy who managed to turn a theater play and perfectly translate it into film back in the 90s.
Which one?
Remember, Jova, he's the guy who loves to put Shakespearean adaptations that are the most faithful to the original.
Which movie are you talking about, Pedro?
Oh, take your
Hamlet.
pick. Hamlet. I think he also did
Romeo
Macbeth.
and Juliet? Oh.
Yeah, I think
Really? Wow. So
there's also one. But
imagine-
basically, he's a literal Shakespearean actor and director.
So he should know how to adapt stuff well to the silver screen. Then what the hell
Maybe
happened?
it's not even a case of it's not even a case I can think of where it may be like, oh, it's a kid product, nobody will care. No, it's not doesn't really fit to be honest.
And it's quite notable that a lot of people cared, considering how bad the reception is on both the critical side and the fan viewer
Now I
side.
start,
Yeah,
I start
basically
to
the
understand why Disney decided to quietly just pull it off theaters and put it on Disney Plus. It just
The
killed two
consensus
birds with
on-
one stone.
The consensus on Rotten Tomatoes says that it would anger fans of the source material and leave newcomers befuddled. Wow, that's like a double. That's like a double whammy. Not only can you not get the fans of the source material happy, any newcomers coming in would just be like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
I mean, normally, if you can pass just one of those two tests, it'd be fine. But failing both.
I do wonder how much of the problems were already in production while the movie was still part of the Fox group, and what popped up after Disney acquired the package.
No, the movie was always Disney. From
It was
the
always.
start.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It sort of has to do with the fact that Disney owned the book company that hosted Artemis Fowl, Hyperion.
But
so
that's
technically
one
they-
even more reason for them to not fuck up.
I don't know. It should have been a slam dunk, but they ruined it. Well, okay, let me point it out this. They changed
Well,
what was
Dale-
essentially a story about a child Hans Gruber into just a typical, oh, the kid is a new hero who's just misunderstood by the world. Oh, by the way, even though his mother was alive in the books, let's kill her off because we're a Disney movie.
Oh, I get it. It's the whole we can't make, the protagonist unrelatable because he might be a bad guy, so we need to make him, a goody two-shoes.
Not just might be a bad guy. Like I said, the first Artemis Fowl can pretty much be summed up as a supernatural Die Hard film, where the protagonist is a 12-year-old Hans Gruber,
Oh, finally.
and one of the antagonists is basically a female John McClane who he's kidnapped. Oh, great, we wait!
I love it. The game leader just finished a padding section and he's like, alright, and now we wait.
What do you think we've been doing aside from maybe
Don't get me
playing?
wrong, slaughtering these kind of zombies in a Dynasty Warrior fashion, it can be a nice time distraction, but it is not what Spider-Man should do.
Goodness gracious.
For a character like Wolverine or even Black Panther, if you want, it makes sense, but Spider-Man, not really.
How can you get so much wrong with the Spider-Man license in one game? Jesus. But yeah, like
I
I
mean,
was...
at least for Kenneth, like I said, at least for Kenneth Branagh films, at least there's Death on the Nile to look forward to.
Also,
Yeah,
Theo,
I'm still gonna go see it just because I'm curious and I saw the first one in theaters.
Yeah, me too.
Also, Theo, allow me to remind you that Disney took Dumbo and thought it would be a good idea to have the remake be a 2-hour movie that's more about circus purchasing and land politics rather than, fucking Dumbo.
What? Disney?
It's
Where
the
like
Tom
the
and
first half an hour is the actual movie, and then the rest is.
It's like the Tom and Jerry movie. You just have these beloved properties attached to an insipid story.
Well, you guys wanted this to make a remake that's not just the original copy-paste.
We should do that movie.
What, the time?
Download completed. Better hurry and get the information so I can shut this insanity down. Peter, I think that Atrocity is connected to the Time Storm somehow. What I really need is some of its DNA to complete the analysis.
Yeah, especially because now it's time to get the. But guess what? It's incomplete. So what Spidey should do is to get close and personal with that fucking thing and acquire the DNA sample. Like, how much more do you want to pad?
Good God.
That's this entire game, Tia.
This game should have been called Spider-Man Edge of Padding.
Age of my fucking patience.
It's called Edge of Time because it wastes your time.
Yeah, but what does the Edge have to do with it?
Because of how edgy the characters are.
Probably it over there. Easy.
Edgy. I've seen more edgy characters that don't have a sword.
Alright, see you for the next part where we acquire this sample.
Oh boy.
Well, unless Spider-Man falls through a hole in the floor and then we have to go back up to the. Well, whatever. Won't be surprised at this rate. Anyway, see you.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.